In order to explore the neuroscience behind UDL, let's imagine a student, we'll call him James, and the experiences he has in two of his high school classes. We'll look to analyze how James' learning in these two classes is influenced by the three brain networks, the affective, recognition, and strategic networks. James has been frustrated for years in math, with low grades and poor performance, and this year is no exception. His teacher, Mr. Martin, believes that it is not his job to convince his students that school is important. It's his job to teach them algebra. He expects them to do the work, and if they don't, they can fail his class. When the content in this class becomes difficult, James' reaction is to shut down and push away. In James' science class, on the other hand, he's had a different experience. Ms. Jones, his biology teacher, goes to great length to affirm her students' sense of personal adequacy. She engages topics and resources that are interesting to students, including James, and encourages him to make connections to the lessons. Early on, she looks for ways to allow students struggling, like him, to have small wins that can make them feel successful in her class, that they can build on to motivate them further. In nearly every lesson, she finds ways to integrate options for hands-on learning that will build on student interest and lead to engagement. When the content becomes more difficult, there are often supports built in, as well as multiple options for the ways that students can interact with the topic. Ms. Jones believes that when a student is bored, unmotivated, or when they shut down, it can be just as limiting as a student with some sort of learning disability. When we look at James' situation in these two classes, when considering the affective network, there are ways in which the world in general, and school in particular, can be like a Rorschach test, where a student's situation clouds how they view it and ultimately how they respond. James' experience in his algebra class is that he views it and Mr. Martin as threatening as a result of his anxiety, derailing his engagement with the content and with the lesson. In his biology class, on the other hand, the lens through which he views the class has the opposite effect. He experiences less stress and anxiety, has developed an interest in both the content itself and the different technology tools he gets to use in the class, and he found and built upon ways that he can be successful, leading to engagement and motivation for learning. The recognition network is concerned with the brain's ability to sense and perceive information in the environment and transform it into usable knowledge. In James' example, his earlier struggles in math limit his ability to come to Mr. Martin's algebra class with a strong base of background knowledge and prior learning. For this reason, many of the lessons create additional cognitive demands beyond those relevant to the learning goal. Our brains depend on interaction with patterns when recognizing and interacting with the world. One of the keys to learning is helping the brain to recognize and interpret those patterns. As mathematical language and concepts get more and more complex, it becomes even more difficult to decode and interpret those patterns without additional support if you don't already see some of the patterns. In James' biology class, Ms. Jones understands the complex nature of the subject she teaches and the importance of presenting the content in multiple ways. She recognizes there are different ways that students process information most effectively. So rather than waiting to remediate those students that fall behind, she designs her lessons so that systematic variability is taken into account from the very beginning. Students like James benefit from receiving more than just listening to a teacher lecture, reading the notebook, and completing a worksheet. He engages in simulations, story maps, anchor charts, and a myriad of web-based tools to help him see connections, recognize patterns, and make meaning out of the course content. Finally, the strategic network is concerned with the brain's ability to plan, organize, and initiate purposeful actions. Because James is not interested nor engaged in his algebra class, the only real goal he has for himself is to maintain a grade high enough to keep him out of trouble with his parents. While that goal is sometimes sufficient to keep him skating by, he's not developed a plan to even keep that goal in reach when the content gets particularly challenging. In biology, on the other hand, he recently designed a web-based game, which has been a hobby of his for some time now, as a way to showcase the knowledge he learned in the recent unit. He had to set long-term goal for what he wanted to accomplish. He had to formulate and then execute a plan to reach that goal. He had to monitor his progress toward his goal along the way, correcting and adjusting as needed as challenges arose. James' example in these two courses highlight an important quote from Universal Design for Learning. One of the most important revelations emerging from brain research is the notion of broad categories of learners. We should expect more of our learning environments. Chief among these expectations is that our learning environments be designed with a deep understanding and appreciation for individual variability.